Welcome to Cracked Movie Club, the show where we do a book club, but for movies which are like books but better. I am the father of a girl who's turning 3 today, and I'm doing this little announcement so that in 15 years, when I show her this video on her 18th birthday, she'll be like so touched.
I thought you were going to say that you were going to show her this movie. And I was like, okay, Jordan, interesting choice.
I actually do have I have a reminder set on my phone for her 18th birthday to show her Promising Young Woman. Have you seen that one yet?
Yes, I have. Why 18 and why that?
So that she can know to stay away from men. I don't know. I don't think men exist until you're 18, right? Is that how that?
That's true.
I certainly didn't. Well, but I lived in a basement for most of my childhood and young adult life.
Yeah.
No,
what else is on your phone? What other
like a
milestones?
Video game, you know, like when things like clip in and out in a video game. Like before you're 18, you just sort of like walk through the world, and the minute you turn 18, it's like bah, 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 and it's like all these just like men just appear. It's wild. It's really
I've been lagging for 15 years.
Yeah.
Just waiting for something to happen.
He's just walking into a wall, and we're like, that guy's bugging. He's completely glitched.
And my name is Jordan Breeding, and I'm joined by my co-hosts, Jesse and Allie. Say hello.
Hello.
As if you essentially haven't
I'm
already been saying all sorts of things.
Yeah, we know who we are. Can I say something that my parents told me I couldn't watch until I was 13?
Go.
Or listen to. So when I was a kid, I was a huge fan of Prince. I still am, but like I was like a 6-year-old who was like favorite album was Purple Rain. I don't know how that happened, but that's true. And there was one song on Purple Rain, Darling Nikki, which I was not allowed to listen to. And so every time we were in the car and the CD was playing, they would skip that track. And they were like diligent. Like I remember once they left me in the car to go grab something, and I could see that track 4 was like running out. And I was like, oh my God, track 5 is going to start like when they're gone. And they were like, clink. And they like went to a different CD. And I was like, no. Anyway, and it's like, I guess it's slightly more offensive than other ones. I don't know. They say masturbate, whatever. So I assumed.
How many seconds in are we?
Oh, yeah, sorry. That wasn't a curse word.
It was in my household.
You weren't allowed to say, Mom, I masturbated?
So anyway, they were like, when you are 13, on your 13th birthday, you can listen to Darling Nikki. And I was like, okay. So in my head, I had built this song up to basically be the most mind-blowing, filthy experience of my whole life. Like I was like, what I hear in this song will shape me for the rest of my days. And it really is very tame. And so it was very disappointing. Like I thought I was going to learn about like, I don't know. I guess I'm afraid to say what I thought I was going to learn because I don't know how far we are into the broadcast.
You should write that song.
I had a similar experience with, I was never allowed to play Grand Theft Auto. And so when I turned 17, I went and bought it myself, but it was several years behind. So I was like, this is terrible. I don't enjoy this at all. I had like Grand Theft Auto 3, like 10 years later.
You thought they were all going to be walking around fully nude.
Yeah.
Or something.
I was hoping. And speaking of, I don't know, this is not a transition.
Here's a transition.
Yeah.
I think that weird thing that Allie's parents did with that song would have been a really good tactic for the cult leader in this film to have taken.
Yes, excellent.
Yeah.
And now we're talking.
Yeah, good way to call it back.
So we're talking about Mandy because we mistakenly believed that it was Nicolas Cage week on Cracked. It is not. It is Sonic and Retro Gaming week. So this has nothing to do with anything. We're just here talking about Nic Cage because it's always a good time to talk about Nic Cage.
Check back in the week of the 18th.
Kind of retro, I feel.
Yeah,
maybe.
It did. It took place in 1983, right?
Perfect.
And they made sure to remind you of that. It's just like one of my pet peeves about Stranger Things is all of a sudden it'll be like, here's a commercial from 1979 Coca-Cola. They did the same thing here.
Yeah.
We get it.
They made one up. One of those was fake.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the one with the cheese goblin. That's not a real.
Oh, Cheddar Goblin.
Cheddar Goblin.
Oh, yeah.
That's a fake commercial. Yeah.
I went to the Alamo Draft House this weekend to see Everything Everywhere All at Once for a second time.
Ooh.
And while I was there, they were selling boxes of Cheddar Goblin macaroni and cheese to take home, ostensibly. I don't know if you make it or if you just keep the box. But I walked in and I was like, I get that now. I watched that this week. I get that now. And they were sort of like, yeah. But they're also showing Mandy. They're doing like a reshoot. What do you call it?
Rerun?
What do you call it when you like put movies in theaters? There's got to be some term for it.
It's another run. They rerun it. I don't know. They're rerunning it.
Whatever.
Re-releasing
The Alamo Draft Houses around here are doing Mandy a bunch.
Nice. And if anybody has an observation or a question or an alternate movie title for Mandy, just to keep this train moving, please tell it to us in the comments, and Brian will grab it, and we will address it at the end if we deem it worthy. So now that we've talked about so many other things, Allie, can you recap this movie in like 30 seconds?
Yes, it is the year 1983.
Of our Lord.
That's very important. And two very in love people named Mandy and Red are living a very idyllic life in seemingly like the Pacific Northwest or maybe the mountains of California or something like that.
For sure.
And one day Mandy goes into town and a strange man sees her and becomes absolutely obsessed with her. That is because he is a weird LSD cult leader / failed musician a la Manson who is convinced that she is the key to whatever his next cult thing is. However, this does not go well, and what ends up happening is they kill her. So Red, who is her husband, is set loose on a maniacal revenge mission, which involves axes and chainsaws and tigers and space imagery. And it is just like it's just like a crazy 80s metal album revenge fantasy for a while. Was that it? That's 30 seconds.
Yeah, that was good. And so, actually, I feel like that's my first point, which is I think everybody that watches this movie essentially tells you and remembers probably the second half of this movie.
Yeah.
Because it is divided.
The first half was a bit slow, to be honest.
A bit. It was shockingly slow.
Yeah, it's the first dialogue is like what, a knock-knock joke?
Right.
You spend like 20 minutes in the slow intimacy of two people who already know each other and so don't divulge any plot points.
Right.
But it is kind of crazy because like even in those moments, it's all very psychedelic. And like even when they're just like laying in bed talking about the novel she just read or the painting she's going to paint, it like turns red and purple and stars get projected. And then there's suddenly... Okay, I looked for IMDb tags for this movie, none of which were particularly funny, so they weren't worth like collecting for us. However, the first user question was, does Mandy take place on Earth? And at first I laughed. I was like, does Mandy take place on Earth? And then I was like, does Mandy take place on Earth?
I barely...
Like, great question. Does Mandy take place on Earth?
It does. I mean, the backgrounds very suddenly turn into these like outer space vignettes, these like otherworldly things where the moon is like way too big.
Yeah, you know, like these like planets overlapping and colliding, and they don't look like planets in our solar system. Like, does Mandy take place on Earth? Is actually a surprisingly great question.
I think it takes place on Earth. I think it takes place in the novel that she's reading.
And the novel doesn't take place on Earth.
Well, I don't know, but that's my hot take, is that I think it is essentially, like you're saying, it's like a heavy metal album come to life. I think it's a heavy metal fantasy book come to life. Because, like, how else do you explain the fact that Nic Cage literally forges a metal battle axe, like, on an anvil?
Yeah, in a day.
Yeah,
he's like, and done.
Yeah.
Also, gotta say,
Jesse Eisemann style theory about this movie. This is my first time.
Let's hear it.
Okay, I was gonna say.
What movie did you think you watched?
Okay, so you know how whenever we're watching a movie, Jesse's like, I thought that in that moment his brain unsnapped. He went untethered, and then we're like, we're watching Drop Dead Gorgeous, Jesse. Like, what are you talking about?
Right.
So here's what I actually thought. So the first half of the movie is still pretty crazy, but not, I guess, beyond belief, because it is sort of meant to be sort of Manson-y, which is true, that they like were very sequestered and he was a failed musician and they used to do LSD before they killed people. So I was like, this is certainly hard to believe, but not beyond the realm of believability. And then the second half of the movie, which is this like metal album revenge fantasy, it does have moments of like absurdity. Including like telepathic speech and fighting with chainsaws and blah, blah, blah. So there's a moment right after basically the halfway point of the movie where the Mandy title card comes up, which comes up at an hour 15 in, which I thought was pretty brave. That he's driving to go save her, and he gets waylaid by the like demonic motorcycle people. They like blow up his car. The screen goes entirely black. Then like little blue stars sort of fill his vision. And then there is an animated Mandy. It's the first time anything like that has happened in the movie. Like they've never like cut to a cartoon. Right. And she is like has her eyes closed and she like snaps her eyes open and they're white and then he like wakes up. And I was like, oh, he died. And the end of this movie is just this insane fantasy that this man is having in his last moments. Because like, you know how your brain releases like insane amounts of like DMT before you die, essentially? I was like, oh, the end of this movie is a trip where he envisions getting revenge on these people, but none of this really happened. He just got blown up in his car.
I love it.
Eisemann.
I fully support this now.
I think it's too easy.
It's one of those things where like when I was watching it, I wasn't like, oh, I've cracked the case. I'm watching the movie the right way. Because I don't really think that there is a right way to watch the movie. The movie is just a lot of imagery, and you're sort of like, whoa, I'm assailed by this imagery. And so I don't think that like, I got it. I cracked the case. However, it was fun to watch the movie through the lens of like, what if he's dead? I don't know. I had like a real drop dead gorgeous moment.
I definitely think regardless of what we think does or doesn't literally happen, it seems very clearly written to be whatever the screenwriter thought would be rad. You know?
Yeah.
He was just like, he has a battle axe. We're going to make Nic Cage and his tighty whities just scream. Just a lot. Just like...
Apparently he had a scream coach. I saw that on IMDb.
Oh, it was a scream
Nicolas
coach.
Cage like worked with like a coach for healthy screaming. Because he does so much screaming in the movie, and he wanted to do kinds of screaming. He wanted to do like grief screaming, but he also wanted to do primal rage screaming.
Huh.
So he like worked with a coach.
I noticed that his screaming was really, it seemed very deliberate. It seemed very practiced, but not, predictable.
Well, I mean, obviously, so somebody asked about this already. I do feel like, clearly one of the things that definitely makes it either a DMT trip or a novelization or not even on Earth entirely is the chainsaw duel, which is probably for me the most memorable moment was the chainsaw duel.
It was pretty cool.
Because it would have been cool and interesting anyway, but one of the guy's chainsaws is like 10 feet long. Like there's no conceivable world where that's a real thing that's been invented for a specific purpose. Or is there?
No.
I feel like that's real. I don't know for sure, but that struck me as like, oh, this is for big trees.
Are there?
Oh yeah, they probably live near like redwoods and stuff. They probably have to get like really big.
Well, he's like an ex-logger. I think Nic Cage's character is a logger.
Yeah, but I think they have like equipment for that. I don't think they ask a man to carry a 10-foot chainsaw that's portable in that way. You can't even fit that in a vehicle. Like that's got to be attached to a bulldozer or something.
I mean, everything was crazy. The axe was crazy. The axe was like a bizarre shape that had been welded out of pure silver. Like it felt like a D&D weapon. It didn't feel real, you know?
Two points on that. So that axe was based on the logo for some like hardcore band that the writer was really into. But also, if you've watched even a second of Forged in Fire, that blade will not cut. That is not a sturdy blade. Like you don't make a good sword or whatever by just like pouring it. Yeah. You like make knives and you test it on like pig carcasses and stuff like that. So, but like a good knife, you don't just like pour some like aluminum into a little ditch you digged in the ground. You gotta pound it. You gotta work that steel.
They say that a lot.
Yeah. Before every fight, he always says, "You gotta pound it.
You gotta pound it.
Yo, pound it."
What?
I did.
I mean, it's all very little about the movie makes sense when you like genuinely get into the details. Even the fact that like the cult leader repays these demon bikers in essentially a human ritual and some goop. Do you know what I mean? Like,
right.
some tainted LSD goop. And so it like, I guess if you don't want to think about it too much, you're like, yeah, they need the goop. But if you think about it any more than that, you're like, wait, they need the goop? That's why it's honestly a good question of whether or not this movie takes place on Earth. Maybe there's a goop shortage.
Gotta have my goop.
Oh, yeah. This is very much a Soylent Green scenario. That's what he was getting at. It's like, goop is people. Oh, my God.
The goop is tainted people.
I
love the scene where he goes to talk to the chemist, but he never says anything, and the chemist is like reading his mind.
Right.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, again, it doesn't really make any sense.
One thing that didn't make sense to a degree that took me out of it is like, why would a biker gang work for a cult? I guess the literal answer is because they give him goop and they give him a dead body once in a while. But like, wouldn't like a good cult leader would recruit the bikers to be part of the cult? He would change his cult to include whatever the bikers got going on, and he would absorb them.
I don't think you want those dudes in your cult. Those dudes, you use them as enforcers. You give them the goop when you need them. But like, man, those dudes are spiky. I mean, if you bump, how are they going to fit in the van? You sit next to one of those guys.
How are they going to fit in the van?
He's freaking covered in nails. The upholstery is going to be obliterated. You can't have a good
point.
Cult with
that is exactly the sort of thing a father of a 3-year-old child would say.
I'm not letting you in the van. Yeah. I'm not letting you
Stop
in the van.
Stop eating in the back of the van.
Yeah.
They're all like, sorry. With like deep voices.
Right. It is interesting to try and suss out what they even are. I mean, I guess they're like maybe demons, but why are they summoned with whistles and then also riding ATVs? Like, it's so, you would think that they would appear if they were fully demonic, but they don't. They have to drive.
Yeah. So
they're just guys.
I was reading an article
some dudes.
that was published like right after the movie came out in like 2018. That was like, Mandy explained, parentheses, kinda. And it was like, there's not really much to explain here if you're looking for an answer. The movie's just kind of crazy. But here's my best attempt. And so something that in that article it had said was that their understanding of the bikers is that they used to be regular people, just bikers, and that they were basically poisoned, or like their brains just like snapped from this tainted bad LSD, the goop. And so now they don't like want human things or behave like humans. They have like almost superhuman strength, and they require human sacrifice.
Oh.
And I was like, okay, I as much as anything makes sense, that makes sense.
Yeah,
to me.
I ate a lot of goop once, and then I wanted to eat people.
Yeah, exactly. They ate too much bad goop, and then they went from like wanting to eat cheesy goblin or whatever to being like, wait, what about people instead?
Yeah. Also,
goop is telling me that I want people now.
Also, like, wouldn't it be awesome if my shirt was entirely covered in nails?
That is cool.
I mean, it's very cool.
I'm gonna get your daughter that for her 18th birthday.
Great, that'll keep
nails
out in the world.
Yeah, that'll keep the men away. Hopefully.
Yeah. Really effective.
Yeah.
No, she'll be surrounded by other spiky dudes, spiky biker dudes.
Well, it'll be like water everywhere, but not a drop to drink because nobody can touch anybody because they're all so spiky.
They're all spiked.
Wow. I'm gonna be a great father of an 18-year-old.
Yeah.
One other thing that I wanted to, we're kind of talking some thematic stuff. What I think is interesting is, have either of you seen the film Drive? It's with Ryan Gosling.
With Ryan Gosling?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This movie, for whatever reason, kept making me think of that movie.
Wait, why?
Because
of the cool jacket?
There was a car in it. No.
Oh, you think you drive my car?
Yeah, right.
That was a lot like Mandy, almost indistinguishable, like basically a ripoff.
I haven't seen that one.
No, I'm kidding. It is like a slow.
No, I know.
Drama.
I was gonna say something about. I feel like we had a South Korean film riff at some point, but I'm not gonna get into it now because I don't remember it well enough to probably not make it offensive. But so the movie Drive is also starring sort of a guy who likes a girl and who just massacres people in the most neon-soaked, crazy, violent ways. And the reason that it came to mind, for whatever reason, is they did an interview with the director of that movie, of Drive, and he said he was trying to make a fairy tale, in the sense that in the fairy tale, there's like the girl, there's the knight, but the way that the knight saves the girl, and I realize she's dead in this, so he's not saving anyone, but is just through this really pretty intense, insane violence that gets watered down as it gets to us. But if you were to present it in Los Angeles during modern times, that's when people's heads are getting blown off. And this felt even more literal, which is like Nic Cage is the knight, and I realize he's doing more of an avenging thing than he is like a saving anybody thing. But it just felt like episodic, or is it, how do you pronounce it, quixotic or quixotic, or it's it's picaresque. Let's say that.
Quixotic.
It was very episodic. It was like he said that weird line, and it felt very fairy tale-esque. Yeah, if that's the word, which it very well may not be at all. And I don't know why, it just like to me felt very parallel to Drive, where it's a lot of slow, just neon lights everywhere, and then intercut with just like insane, crazy violence.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot. Oh my gosh, what is that movie called? Do you know when you have a point, and then as you're about to make the point, it goes, ha ha ha.
No.
And it just like,
I've never once had a point, so I envy you for even getting that far.
There is a movie that came out not that long ago that is about a bunch of dancers who have a bad trip. They like take bad LSD
with Dakota Johnson
or something like that. No, that
Black
one's
Swan.
crazy too, though. That movie was really sick. No, and there's like very little dialogue, if like no dialogue, and they just dance, but it's like clear through the dancing, like the progression of their trip and like the kind of emotions they have. And it's like one of those same things where it's like a neon nightmare. Oh no, is somebody in the chat gonna have somebody
says climax.
Thank you.
Thank you. Also, another alternative is it could be Bad Trip, which is the movie with Eric Andre, and
is that the one where they go on a bad trip in Europe?
No, that's that's Road Trip Europe or whatever.
Are we talking about Girls Trip?
Are you talking about The Trip with what's his freaking face? The Steve Coogan. That one's great too.
Oh yeah. Or that one where Barbara Streisand and Seth Rogen are mother and daughter.
Speaking of
leave it in the final cut.
Speaking of movies, Paul Blart, Mall Cop. What are we doing?
Have you seen Paul Blart Mall Cop?
Did you have a point about
really
dancing other than that it was in fact that it was similar to vibe-wise, like just neon madness?
Yeah, and it's also that like much like the second half of Mandy, it's like not a ton of dialogue.
Yeah.
Just kind of is this really happening? Is this a nightmare? Is this in their heads? Are they really? And like because they're amazing dancers, and they're like I don't even know it. I'm so uncultured. They're sort of like modern / like Vogue dancers. Like they're very like ballroom scene dancers, not like ballerinas. So they can do like really crazy things with their body already. And so like even as it progresses and they're doing even crazier things with their body, you like can't tell if you're supposed to be impressed by their craft or if you're supposed to be like repulsed. It's very interesting. It was a hard watch, but it was good. I'm glad I watched it.
All right. We'll watch it.
Thank you.
We'll watch the dancing Vogue neon violent nightmare dream.
It's time we start making movies instead of just watching them.
Yeah, every week we should make a new movie.
That would be a really interesting podcast. I feel like if somebody like Spielberg got in on that, that'd be pretty fun. Make like a short film every week.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
All right, so that was one of the other things I wanted to talk about. So the music was written by and performed. Well, I don't know if it's performed, but it was made by his name is like Johan Johannesson or something, who did Sicario and Arrival, which is to say a lot bigger movies and a lot more elegant. I mean, Sicario was pretty intense, but Arrival is a lot grander and stuff. I felt like the soundtrack was just a lot of like, just like hitting a guitar with a hammer and just kind of like letting it.
Yeah, his cat walked across his synth, and that was 40 minutes of the movie.
I thought it was great, but I I mean, it was great in the sense that I think it mostly fit the mood, but I actually was surprised it didn't get heavier or like more metal. It just felt like so.
I don't know anything about the modern heavy metal scene, like what is cool, what it sounds like, what the fads are. So to me, I was just like, yeah, sound. It did not really
it's that classic
me in
wall
any way,
of sound
shape, or
that they always talk about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Brian Eno. Well, I was gonna say it's important that one of the cool things that's happened is Bring Me the Horizon. Used to be a really heavy band, and they now do stuff with BTS. So that's pretty much where we're at. I would say that's the cool new metal. But also,
does the metal sound metally, or does it sound contemporary pop-y?
Yeah, it's a lot more of that.
Interesting.
You guys ever hear baby metal?
Yeah.
What's that?
It's
a cool band. It's a band.
Are they babies?
They're children. I don't know if they're babies, but they're like young girls from Jordan. You know where they're from?
It's either J-pop or it's either Korea or Japan. It's basically like Slipknot dudes, so like guys in scary masks playing metal music, but with a trio of K-pop singer dancers, little girls.
Oh. Cool.
And so there's one song, I know they have more famous ones, but there's one that I have actually on a Spotify rotation that frickin' rips, and I'm gonna find it because it's a deep cut. But you guys should talk about something else. I'm not gonna play it, but
kids are amazing at screaming. Like they know how to scream healthfully. They don't like get nodes or hurt their vocal cords somehow. I don't know how that happens, but kids can scream all day, and they never are like, I'm a little hoarse today. I kind of overused my voice yesterday. Kids just, and like, I think they might actually be the perfect front people for like a screaming heavy metal band where they just sort of rip their vocal cords.
The song is called,
I think we gotta get on it.
The song is called Brand New Day by Baby Metal, and I wouldn't listen to it now. It doesn't really make for an exciting live stream for you guys to silently listen to K-pop metal in your headphones. But
yeah, you just watch us being like this.
That's what I wanted from this movie. No, there was something early on in the film where the music was like somebody was doing an actual like finger tapping, like solo or like sweep picking or something, and then a lot of it just became it's like he would touch an axe and would go, and then he'd like walk around and they'd be like, you're it's just like she burned up. She's still burning.
That part was scary.
It was very weird. Yeah. I was like, why do you care? Did you even know that? How did you know, Demon Man? Was he a part of that? I guess he was in the house eating his goop, looking through the window like, yes, burn.
Yeah, so I guess that they don't eat them because if she's still burning, they didn't get to partake.
Well, that's why he got to
and
eat.
Enjoy.
Maybe that was part of the deal, right? Because they gave the chubbier cultist fellow because I think he said something to the effect of like, if you want him to kill somebody that they're not allowed to. I don't know if they said not allowed to eat, but we got to give him somebody. Because they
were never going to give him Mandy. I understand.
Right, and so they had to give somebody else as a way to pay for it, I suppose.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Like that's why they're in this symbiotic relationship where like the cult guy will like kill off one of his like newer members and let the motorcyclists eat him.
Yeah.
Sounds
I
good.
think
that's really fair.
It really is a fair trade,
Yeah.
It seems like. I think that there are some things that just procedurally the guy that runs his cult is doing all wrong. So he finds this woman who's supposed to be his super hot forever queen or whatever, and she laughs at his music and he decides to just kill her instead of just brainwashing her. If you're running a cult, you can't just kill people the first time they say no. You gotta get good at...
I want to see Jesse as HR for this cult. Just being like, hey, we're really running through members pretty quickly. And I think it's because they're not seeing returns on their investment here. Okay?
This is
we're killing people. We're not
town.
we're not holding promises.
Yeah. This is a very rural area. If you see a smoking hot babe on the side of the road, you gotta try your best to convert her. You can't just kill her. We're running out of babes.
I have kind of like an eyeball phobia that I can't explain. I guess that's why it's called a phobia, when you don't know why you're scared of something. But I did not know you could like put LSD in somebody's eyeballs, and now I have a new fear.
I mean, you could put anything you want in an eyeball if you want to.
I don't like that at all. I did not like did not like knowing that. I guess it makes sense because it like makes sense. It permeates the barrier, the membrane, just like putting it under your tongue or something.
Yeah.
But I was like, no. So I've been thinking about that all week.
To back up for a second, you called her a smoking hot babe, which is interesting. But also, I feel like it was pretty apparent that she would not be into his style of music, given her heavy metal T-shirt and her insanely long hair, like insanely long black hair, and that she's reading at all times these like books with like wizards and shit on the front. It's very funny that he's like, "Do you like my jam?" And she's like, regardless of whether she was tripping, I assume her answer would be like, "Well, no, this is."
It's also horrible music.
Yeah.
It's just like, and he's like, people didn't understand my music because it was so good.
Right.
And then does just the worst garbage.
Yeah.
In
People, the way it's meant to be listened to is with my balls 2 feet away from your face.
That man was naked the whole film.
I
think he was cold. Do you think he was okay? Sometimes when I see an actor being naked for like such a huge part of a project, you have to understand that that's like, sorry, that's like days and days and days of filming. So this man was like fully nude for quite a long time.
Maybe he's.
I think about that a lot.
Maybe he was wearing green screen pants, and they just digitally inserted
the wiener, the little flopping wiener,
the wiener. I don't think they did that on this movie. I definitely think that I know they did that didn't they do that in a Kevin Bacon movie or something? I swear that there are movies now where they will like put a sock.
Oh, CG a wiener. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is it's an entire genre of film, CG a wiener films. They're not my favorite. I like to see the real thing, but it's a pretty good substitute in a pinch. But yes, I do think it's interesting. Like, you've been watching The Righteous Gemstones, right, Allie?
Yeah,
I think it's funny.
I just finished season 2.
Every time HBO it'll pop up, it'll be like parental guidance and nudity, or I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna have to see another penis because it's exclusively
only penises on that show.
Yeah, old, well,
only
middle-aged
penises in the building.
Yeah, middle-aged nude men, full frontal, and you're like, ugh. All right, well.
But it's like something that show has managed to do is like show how absurd it is to just be naked. Like that's sort of the point a lot of the time is like, isn't it insane that this dude is naked? Like, because there was like male nudity and stuff on, I don't know, Game of Thrones, but it was never because it was, I don't know. Righteous Gemstones like loves to show you a wiener, but it likes to be like, isn't it weird looking? We can all talk about it, guys. Everyone just talk about it. This is weird looking. Can we agree? And you're like, thank you for saying it. Thank you for being so brave.
Yeah, it's I will say Mandy definitely also. It's a pretty weird looking little wiener hanging there. I don't think that either is meant to evoke like, ooh, I'm glad I rented this. Look at that. Look at that. Big old.
Look at that old wiener.
I think there was a lot of symbology in the man's wiener in that he thinks he is 100% the perfect man, and just simply showing his flaccid wiener without any sort of preparation of any kind, he thought would be the ultimate gift to his new bride.
Yeah, are you going to bring this up in the next HR meeting?
Look, man, you need to fluff it a little bit.
Did you even prepare at all? No preparation. I'm really disappointed to hear that.
It is.
I would expect more prepreparation from you going into an important meeting like that.
It is interesting because he definitely does give off the vibe that he's ready to go, and then he's like, "But not yet. If you want to help, though, I'm fully willing to accept assistance."
While my brothers and sisters watch.
Yeah, maybe that's why he's like, "I'm doing this for a thing, but also I can't with people."
Yeah.
Brother Swan, begin tugging.
Yes, you're my favorite pet. Anyway,
actually that is something that I was gonna bring up, just like in general, is that like we have had a sort of influx of demon cult movies, I feel, in the last, let's say, 10 years. And that like often when somebody doesn't have an answer as to why this thing exists or behaves the way that it does, they're like, oh, well, it's a cult, but not a regular cult. Not like a sex one. like a demon one. And it seems like it has sort of become an easy answer that people just sort of accept. And I'm not even criticizing this movie and saying that like they did like something easy. It did feel very thought out in terms of like I definitely I think when this person was conceiving of the movie, he wasn't like, oh, we're gonna have a weird alien and the answer for that is demon cult. Do you know what I mean? Like the cult was obviously very integral to the whole plot. But I did feel sort of when I saw it in the first place, just because like I feel a little oversaturated with it as a trope.
Yeah.
And I wonder what the next thing will be.
Well, like, so there's this
horror movie trope.
It was interesting that they were presumably pretty. It's a pretty Christian one. Like they used a lot of crosses, and he's like, God's been telling me to do like. If anything, Nic Cage becomes the like Satan. Taking. I mean, he literally says, he's like, "What do you need that crossbow for?" And he's like, "I'm gonna go kill a bunch of Jesus freaks." He's like, "I didn't know they were in season." And you're like, "Nice," but at the end, I mean, he's literally like, you're the devil, something like that. I got God on my side, basically. And then he's like, "Oh, suck your dick, man," which I thought was pretty funny.
That was very
but
funny.
then Nic Cage's voice is like, "I am," like, I don't remember anything. I should have written it down so that I'm not just growling without the benefit of having...
Yeah, when did he say, "I am vengeance"? That's weird, Jordan. I don't think that happened.
I am vengeance. I don't have the benefit of a growl coach, a scream coach, but...
yeah. I gotta get one of those.
His voice changes. He's literally inside of a church. He pops his head and burns the church down. It's very much just sort of an inversion of like, it feels like the point of the movie is like, hey, Christians are bad. You know who's cool? The metalheads. We rock.
I mean, they're not really like, I understand what you're saying, but they're definitely not like good Christian neighbors.
No. I wouldn't say that they are, but I'm just saying that it is as opposed to like a pure sex cult or like what we have now. I would say like in the real world is all these multi-level marketing cults like NXIV or whatever that one is, and
Nixium or whatever it was.
Peloton.
Peloton. Yeah, we need Nic Cage to go in there and pop some heads. But I just mean it was very much Christian imagery, and thinking of it set, I mean, they even have it's set in 1983. They have a Reagan quote on the radio talking about good Christian moral values. I do think it's kind of like, hey, we think of Christians as good neighbors, but I think they're more like the cult, and we think of metalheads as bad people, but they're good. They fight the goop eaters, and you're like, well, it's all little
goop eaters,
but sure.
There's a quote that I heard. This is going to be embarrassing if it's literally from this movie, but there's a quote that I heard recently that was like, hippies are bad people pretending to be good, and punks are good people pretending to be bad. And that seems like exactly what you're saying, where it's like, these are like these hippies, they got the long hair, they got the Christian stuff going on, and they're doing all the worst stuff. And then here comes like hardcore metal man with his cool personalized axe doing the Lord's work.
Yeah. They did say, I saw in all these reviews, and I did not at all get this in the movie, but apparently they have some bad past that they're like escaping or something.
Who does?
Nic Cage and
Mandy.
Yeah, Mandy.
I mean, that makes sense because they seem to live like extremely off the grid,
right.
And even their hobbies and everything are very much like getting back in contact with nature. She actually tells a story about her childhood that's like really messed up, where like there were like starlings in her neighborhood in the bush, and her
right.
father puts them into a pillowcase and like kills them in front of all the neighborhood children, just kind of cuz.
Yeah.
Because he didn't like the sound or whatever. And so like it did feel like a bit of a man versus nature trying to reclaim a simple life type deal, where it's like they're off the grid because they want to go back to simplicity in some way or another.
Sure.
I don't know.
Yeah. What I read was that, she has these straight up like a history of abuse. And then he's got this nebulous thing where he was like probably in the army and has probably got some PTSD from there. Also probably a recovering alcoholic. And that's what makes that scene where he just slurps down a whole bottle of vodka extra poignant.
So I do love when a movie, I always think about this in movies where I feel like we try and do it more and more, which is like, All right, so I wrote this chainsaw duel. I got to think a little bit ahead about how I could make it at all plausible. He's a tree guy. He does trees. He does trees. Yeah, he's a tree boy. It's funny because they set that up, but before that, he makes a battle axe out of metal, which is entirely unexplained, other than I guess he reads a lot of metal books.
Also, it's going to be too heavy for one thing. That thing is not going to work.
Wow, this guy's watched a lot of metalworking shows.
I just thought,
Chat, get my back. You've for sure watched Forged in Fire.
I just feel like basically every movie is like, what is it, the history of violence or whatever? It's like, oh, actually he was in the mob, or like, oh, he's like a retired soldier guy. It's like every like Liam Neeson movie is like, I used to work in the wars. And now I'm a good American. This is my American accent.
It would be fun to have one where the backstory has absolutely nothing to do with it, but they're still really good at it, and they just explain it as being like, no, you don't understand. I was an elementary school teacher. And you're like, that doesn't explain what you just said. And it's like, trust me, if you knew, it would. That's why I can make an axe.
So I do think, okay, so this is a great idea. We should follow this through and then write a film for next week, which is, so like, have you heard of this movie called Jim Cotta? It's a movie.
Is that one word or two? Is it a name, Jim Cotta?
No, it's a fight. It's a fight style, like kata, like gun kata or whatever from the Equilibrium. But it's about a gymnast fight style. So they're good at gymming, and they use it to fight people. So what you should do is, it should be an elementary school. I guess that's what Die Hard is, right? I mean, you basically create a scenario where it's like, all right, they're attacking my elementary school, which is now suddenly very relevant and sad, so maybe that's not fun. But and then you're like, you put a bunch of crafts on the floor and they slip, and then you stab them in the head with a number 2 pencil like the Joker. Like, you just gotta pick a totally arbitrary profession and then find a way to make it badass, but still faithful to the profession. Like lumberjack, you wouldn't inherently think anything, and then obviously they were like, but he chainsaw duels, which you're like, oh, all right, cool.
Well, see, because right now it sounds too much like Home Alone, just like little crafts around my house.
Which is Die Hard.
But
kids.
I do feel like we could pick a really seemingly boring profession and like just find a way to make it just blow it out.
All right.
Big time.
You guys are the improv masters. Quick, profession. I need a profession.
I've got one.
Okay.
Yeah, go for it.
A carpenter becomes the son of God. Already written.
I knew you were going to end with that. Pals. I could feel it. I was like, carpenter.
I was like, what's he going to say?
That's Jesus.
I mean, it would be kind of fun to do like a hair salon. Because we got like knives, we got hot water, we got the dyes. I feel like hair salon's a fun and unexpected little place for that.
That's a great idea. Is we could reverse engineer a Final Destination movie, because every single one of those is people being killed in different places of work. People die at the dentist, people die at the NASCAR event, and so you just take that and you use it for good now. So now it's the dentist is like stabbing little scalpels in your eyes and shit. I think we did it. I think we're about to make $1 million. I hope there are a lot of.
I think we're about to make $1 million. I hope everyone enjoys seeing us before we get our ego's huge.
$1 million. Split 3 ways. Still pretty good. We'll give Brian some too. They're in the comments. Although right. I haven't.
Thanks, Brian.
Yeah, there we go. Last thing Brian said was, "Now that's a lot of old wieners." So,
I mean, that's good comment.
You need at least a quarter cut. Anyway, so we'll circle back to this next week. All I had left was, I think I mentioned this off the top, but I think it's a lot less fun than it feels like we're describing it as. And I think what's interesting about this movie is that the remembering of it is probably a lot more fun than the watching of it in a lot of ways, because that first hour is so slow. It is very pretty and very interesting, but good grief. And then the violence is very stomach churning. So it's a little bit more, I don't want to really watch a guy get jiggled on a chainsaw while his blood sprays everywhere.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that was
He did get jiggled.
that was actually a little bit less graphic than some of the other things, but anyway.
How about that dude? How about the Coke Gimp with the knife cock?
Right.
Coke Gimp Knife Cock. That's the title of the movie, and I'm taking it.
Okay, I'll write it down. Coke Gimp Knife Cock.
So like it's funny what I will definitely. I watch a lot of weird movies, I guess. I feel like maybe I watch weirder movies than the average person. So I have seen a lot of like bizarre violence and things. And like there are certain things that still make me feel gross. For example, eyeballs. So like when we were crushing the guy's head, to me, I wasn't like, ew, blood. I was like, oh, eyeballs. Because I don't like it. Do you know
the eyeballs were so visceral in that. Yeah.
That was like, I had to tap out of that one. And it's weird because like certain things, like when he was getting jiggled on the chainsaw, I was like, gross, but I wasn't at any point like revolted or whatever.
That one didn't get me.
It's weird, the little things that like your brain will suddenly go, not this one. The other one was fine, but this one you can't. This one you will not be doing. Do you know what I'm saying?
I think for me it's like Achilles, like getting impaled in the Achilles, getting sliced in the Achilles, like
that is
like
gross.
Foot stuff. I don't know. I don't like it.
Did I ever tell you I partially tore my Achilles one time, and it was only because I'd injured my ankle a few months before. Instead of going to physical therapy, I spent the next several months just limping. So my Achilles just sort of stopped being like bendable in any way. So the first time I'm like walking through my kitchen with a full stride, it just like tore, and it's this really jarring, awful, disgusting feeling.
Ugh.
Wow.
That's
is
horrible.
bad.
There's a movie. Yeah. Well, maybe not. And then how did you use your one leg to defeat the terrorists?
I put on some knife. I took my knife dildo and I put it on my toe. And
knife dildo toes.
How's that?
There's also like, have you guys ever seen Black Swan?
Yeah.
Do you remember the part where she like pulls her cuticle? Cannot watch that.
Oh yeah.
Cannot watch that. In the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once, I'm not going to spoil anything big because it's so good and it shouldn't be spoiled. There is a moment where someone must give themselves a paper cut. Cannot watch it.
Oh yeah, dude. There's that one Jackass
Don't make me think about
sketch.
that. Like, whoo. Even talking about it, I got like the willies.
It is uncomfortable.
Whew.
Yeah.
Everybody else afraid of.
Speaking of all the horrible things, Allie, you're lucky because next week Brian is going to be our guest host because you are doing something else.
Yeah.
And they have suggested that we watch Titane.
Okay.
Which I've intentionally not wanted to see because it looks disgusting and terrifying. However, apparently we're doing it. So
I'm jealous. I want to hear what Jordan hates about the movie, which will be everything.
Not necessarily. I like violent, weird movies. I just, it sounded, doesn't she like have sex with a car?
I'm just scared of cars.
I don't do sex stuff with cars.
Ruin the upholstery.
Yeah. It's just like, oh.
Don't get jizz on that.
Yeah.
I'll be really mad at you, young woman.
Oh, no. You're going to have to take that in. Oh, my God. You're going to have to get it professionally cleaned. It's my nightmare. It's like eyeballs. Cool. You guys got any other thoughts, observations?
I had two quick things. So first of all, there's a lot of Manson parallels that are kind of obvious, but there's also some parallels perhaps to another cult that's currently being covered on a very popular true crime podcast. It's called The Children of Thunder, is the name of this real cult. The cult in the movie is what is called the Children of the Dawn. What struck me as similar is, so this guy in the movie says that like, oh yeah, God told me pretty much I can have whatever I want. You know, the world is my buffet. So the Children of Thunder, the guy that ran that cult, his whole thing was that like, because God is everywhere and omnipotent, even inside of our brains, if you have a thought, that's technically God like giving his okay. So if you think about something, you're allowed to take it. That just seemed like a very similar, like very specific set of mental gymnastics.
That's interesting. And something I believe strongly.
Well, yeah, for sure,
if I have
man.
any thought, it is correct, and I will do it. I won't have a single second thought about it. I will go do it immediately.
if I wasn't supposed to do it, God would strike me dead.
Yeah.
The other thing is that Nic Cage, this was more Nic Cage being in a weird movie, and I wish there was more of Nic Cage being weird in a movie. There was some of that. There was like some of the fight scenes were like that. The bathroom freak out was like that. But more
that
it was
ending
more about
performance with the long creepy smile was like perfection.
That was
Nic
really
Cage wise.
delightful. Yeah.
totally. Yeah. But I was hoping for more of like a what was it, Moonstruck style Nic Cage?
Right. Where it's otherwise just like a normal rom-com, and then there's Nic Cage with no teeth and one hand lurching around in the background like, I'm lovable. Come into my bed, I'm a wolf. And you're like, oh.
Huh. I don't have thoughts. I don't have any thoughts, and that's just a true thing. But I did find 2 fun facts that I enjoyed. One of which was that the actor who plays the chemist, his name is Richard Brake. In an early draft of the script that he read, like when he was auditioning, in that scene where Nic Cage goes and visits him while he's making the LSD, Lizzie was a lizard, hence the name. And then he arrived on set, and there was a tiger in a cage, and the director went, "Oh yeah, by the way, Lizzie's a tiger now." And that's how he learns that they had changed it to being a tiger.
That's quite a script change, because that's a big budget adjustment, presumably having a live. Well, was it live? I don't know. I assume so. But to be like, this budget is small. We have a lizard. We got an extra 100,000. It's a freaking tiger now, baby.
I mean, it was way cooler when he opened the cage and a tiger ran out than if a little lizard had scuttered away with its eyeballs looking 2 different directions.
Could have been a big lizard. And you don't...
How big?
Komodo dragons are incredibly dangerous. If you get bitten by one of those, it's like instant sepsis.
Oh, okay. You sound like that little kid on Instagram who was obsessed with Komodo dragons. You know what I'm talking about? Somebody will know what I'm talking about.
No, but I can certainly picture it.
There's a kid who's like, I love Komodo dragons. They're so cool. I wouldn't even care if one killed me. Like, he's just obsessed with them.
Wow.
I think that's great. I think he
I'm going to find this kid.
And then I'm going to kill him.
I think he has his life goals very set.
Yeah.
The other thing that I thought was cool, just in general, is that this movie was produced. First of all, it was only $6 million to make, which is nothing for a movie.
60?
And it was 6.
Oh, okay. It's like, okay.
No, 60 is still like less than like a Marvel movie, but it's still not like a ton of.
Yeah, but for like 3 minutes of action that we slowed down with by shooting at 240 frames.
It was a $6 million movie, which for something that had as many parts, has many moving pieces as this, and isn't just like a indie drama where we take a car ride. Like, it's $6 million. They really stretched every dollar. Yeah. And it was produced by a company that was called Spectre Vision, and this was its biggest hit in a very long time. This is the production company that was founded by Elijah Wood, because Elijah Wood and Nic Cage met while acting opposite of each other, and they apparently just had a really great time.
Wow.
And Elijah was like, "You're great. We got to do something for you." And so when he got this script, he was like, "This is the one. I'm gonna put like $4 million of my own dollars behind this movie because I want to see it. I think it's great, and I think Nic Cage has to be in it." And it's just like, that is why this movie exists.
That's awesome.
I love when people who are super rich, more rich than they ever needed to be, were like, "I'm going to make a weird movie, and you can't stop me. I'm Elijah Wood."
I saw that he produced it. I thought maybe it was a different Elijah Wood, or he...
No, so...
Well, I guess he did just throw some money at it.
Well, this is part of that Did I mention this on the podcast? This phenomenon of early 2000s magical white boys deciding to throw all that away, and now they only make weird crap. Robert Pattinson being the Twilight Boy.
The latest in a line of them, yes.
Daniel Radcliffe has done a lot of that, like that Akimbo movie, or Guns Akimbo, where his hands are guns, and Swiss Army Man, which is delightful if you haven't seen it.
Yes, and is by the Daniels, who did Everything Everywhere All at Once, which you must see.
I will if it ever comes to this market, which
apparently it is being widely released this week.
Oh.
And so it should appear around you.
You would think. I mean, we got a freaking Alamo Drafthouse. You're supposed to get cool stuff there.
I think you'll get it at the Alamo Drafthouse. At mine, they had special things they put before the movie.
It just showed up.
See?
It literally wasn't there yesterday. It'll be here on Friday. Ah!
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna watch it.
Okay, good. But yes, and Elijah Wood does basically only weird movies now.
Yeah.
There was one that they did recently that was called he didn't produce it, but he was in it. And maybe he put money behind it. I don't know. I don't feel at home in this world anymore. Did you see that one? That was on Netflix a while back, and I loved it. It was crazy.
That's with and I should know the actress's name by now, but
Melanie Lindsay.
Yeah, she's in everything. But like
she's
always great stuff. He was also in a movie that I didn't love, but basically Elijah Wood is this like sad emo man. He's like a DJ and he goes to meet his like hard ass dad for the first time, and then of course it turns out things happen, people die. Because like all these movies, it's not as trippy as this, but it is interesting. Also,
what is it called?
I mean, I could look it up, but that's never.
No, I'll look it up. But I do love when people are just like, yeah, no one else is gonna make this weird movie. I have millions of dollars. I'll do that. I will make that happen.
Yeah,
for the world.
I always do that. Come to Daddy is what it's called.
Crazy title. Great.
It's got him with like a little like serving meat fork, and he's covered in blood, and he's got a weird haircut. It's okay. I mean, it's fine. But it's one of those things. You're right, where it's like I am no longer Frodo. I'm gonna do whatever I.
Yeah,
want.
I mean, and even before that, he was like a child actor, and he was in like Free Willy and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like as an adult, you either become absolutely untethered from reality, or you find a way to be normal. And I think his way of being normal is being like, I am not going to be a little imp anymore. I'm going to spend my money on making art that I like am excited about.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I would love to be both an imp and a rich boy who does whatever he wants. But I still I still want to be a little imp, a little scamp.
Little scamp.
Any other thoughts, or should we move to fan, if we can call them the people watching this questions? We ready?
Yeah, let's do some fan mail.
All right, so I actually thought this one was really interesting. This one came from our newsletter, which you can sign up for if you go to crack.com/newsletters. I don't know. I don't remember exactly, but he says
something like that.
Do you feel that Mandy is a modern or contemporary version of a Swords and Sandals Conan type movie? And if you guys don't know exactly what that is, it's exactly analogous to spaghetti westerns, which is to say, it was for biblical epics. It was like the Ten Commandments, Noah, like all these big movies from like the 50s and 40s, like big biblically themed movies, but just with like very jacked Italian men, and they're just like running around and, poorly dubbed English kind of stuff, which is essentially what Conan kind of is and was, but with Schwarzenegger. I have a thought on it, but do either of you have a thought on that? Knowing maybe nothing about the genre. I just read up on it.
The only thing that feels unique / different about this, as opposed to just like a traditional, like, I'm going to get my family back revenge feature, is that it is just so bizarre.
Yeah. And
that even from the beginning of the movie, you kind of are questioning any semblance of reality. And that like in movies like that, which do follow the same like beat structure, you are supposed to believe that this man, like broke free of his shackles and picked up this big old sword, and he's really good at it, and he's on his way to kill the king. And, you're like, okay, cool. But like this movie is like, or not. I don't know. Did you see that chainsaw? It was really big, not like real big,
right.
just like kind of crazy. And so like this. If it does follow the same narrative structure, sure, but it definitely has that added layer of just like, is any of this happening? Did he die?
Yeah.
Are we on Earth?
Yeah. I felt like it didn't feel particularly influenced by that stuff, just because of kind of what you're saying. It's like, if it was, it intentionally turned every single thing to the point where it was no longer even satirizing or building upon the thing, or even like an anti-version of it, because it's like, yeah, it's not a jack dude, it's Nic Cage, and even the plot is not it's some Christian-y themes and stuff, but it's much more grounded in that, where it's like, this is a cult and it's bad. I don't know. So I thought it was a really interesting idea. I don't necessarily know if that's what they were going for, but I thought it's a cool question regardless.
Yeah.
Tiago, who I'm going to guess is one of our writers, if I'm not mistaken, wants to know which Nic Cage character would win in a Nic Cage battle royale. And it's got to be the face-off one, right?
Yeah, it could also be the guy from Wicker Man.
Or Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider would probably.
Or Ghost Rider. I mean, he was a Ghost Rider. Hello.
His head was on fire, and it did not stop him. That's something that his girlfriend Mandy could have really used that skill in this film.
What's the movie? What's the one with the vampire? I'm a vampire. I'm a vampire. What movie's that one?
Oh.
Vampire's Kiss.
I think I was gonna say Vampire's Kiss might be it.
That's the one. That one gets my vote.
I don't know that I'm super versed. Maybe it's the one in the Left Behind series, the really terrible, like blasphemous Christian books about the rapture that they made into movies starring Nic Cage.
I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, well, I haven't seen them other than a few select clips. It was really, you had to be part of the cool, homeschool Christian gang that really got into these books about the rapture being a real thing. Somebody wants to know, is Nic Cage reaching Chuck Norris status? I don't think so. I think he is kind of his own thing. I feel like Chuck Norris has only been like, I kick, and then people were like, that's funny that he still does it. Nic Cage has so many different weird offshoots.
Nic Cage has definitely become like a meme, sort of. And I think he is sort of participating in it willingly with doing this self-referential movie. The one that's like the massive weight of unbearable talent or something like that. Yeah. The unbearable weight of massive talent. The title is long. Do you know what I'm talking about, Jordan?
Sorry, say that one more time.
It's this movie he's doing where he plays himself.
Oh, the unbearable weight of massive talent, or the
massive talent. So like, I think he knows that he's kind of like culturally a meme, and that like,
oh sure,
you can either enjoy it or not, and he's like choosing to enjoy it. And I feel like that's the closest thing to like Chuck Norris getting on board with being like, yeah, Chuck Norris will kick your ass. I'll do this ad where I tell you not to eat eggs or something. I don't know. But
no, Chuck is very pro egg.
I'm sure he's pro egg. But like Nic Cage is still a really good actor, and he still gets like really good reviews when he does stuff, which I think like is that the backbone of him being like, I'm also allowed to make fun of myself because you also gave me really good reviews when I did Pig.
Right.
So we all know I can act. So everybody shut up. But also now we can all make fun of me because we all agree I can act. But I think if he was a worse actor, it would be like touchier. Do you know what I mean?
It's actually, so that's a worthwhile question then, is there any sort of Nic Cage analogous? Honestly, like Jared Leto is starting to slip into some of this where it's like he's obviously talented, right? I mean, he won an Oscar. He can do a lot of things, but man, he just is in a lot of crap, and he's trying so hard. I don't know. I don't know if that's like Nic Cage necessarily, because Jared Leto still is in relatively big movies more often than not, but I don't know. Does it feel like there's an analogous actor, celebrity, something that's like self-aware and crazy? And I guess Jared Leto's also not self-aware at all, and maybe has his own cult from his band. So
yeah, I every day I feel like I wake up and I hear a new piece of information about Jared Leto that makes me go, oh, okay. Like I don't think I've had a reaction to him that hasn't been okay in like years, which is not good. You're not always supposed to be surprised, and not in a good way. I don't know. Withhold comment until we find out more weird shit that he's up to.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to ask this question from Steve because I think it's pretty quick. Would you rather be Shia LaBeouf or Elijah Wood? Feels like 100% Elijah Wood. I don't know why you'd...
Elijah Wood.
Why would you want to be Shia LaBeouf?
Elijah Wood, because Shia LaBeouf is also just sort of out there causing chaos and not doing things for the right way. But also, Frodo Baggins is my favorite fictional character, basically, of all time.
And
hot take. People really come at me for that one.
I saw Honey Boy, and Shia's life seems sad. So...
yeah, nobody wants to be sad.
Well, no, I mean, do you know what I'm talking about? What Honey Boy is? It's where Shia LaBeouf plays his own dad.
Yes.
In a story about his life. It was sad. I didn't want that. I want to be like Elijah Wood. I don't know what his life was like, but it's, he's not playing any movies where he's his own dad that I'm aware of.
Hey, come to daddy. Maybe we don't know what that really was about.
Yeah. Well, we do. I watched it. Oh, you're saying it could be his real dad, but he was playing the kid.
Twist.
So it doesn't matter. Fuck, marry, kill Red from this movie, Ronnie from Moonstruck, or Ben from National Treasure. Go.
Ooh. Okay. Hold on.
I think I got a marry National Treasure. He's got, he's proven his worth.
He's got a solid job. He's had 3 sequels or 2 sequels worth of doing his job correctly. You know that guy can hold down a job and he can take care of you. Agree.
Except for the prior 40 years before the movie, the dude has been looking for this stupid treasure his whole life. Isn't that the whole thing? He's useless.
Everybody takes a little while to find themselves.
He's still employed as a treasure hunter. They still call on him for expertise.
Okay, well, keep going.
His uncle is a world famous treasure hunter, and so he gets to skate by on that a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's not true. That's not.
He inherited the job. I see.
Yeah, I think you gotta fuck the guy from Moonstruck, right? Because he
correct again
proves to be the best fuck on the planet.
100%. You give him one rare steak, and he just fucks your brains out for hours. 100%. Agreed again.
Okay, I feel like I would marry Red because dude is gonna protect me.
Or if he's maybe not, he might just be dead and thinking.
Well, he'll avenge me. You're right. Nobody's gonna kill me anyway. I should just have the money. I'm an idiot.
Did they fuck at all? I forget if they fucked in this movie.
No. They did a lot of longing, meaningful staring into each other's eyes, though.
Yeah, and that can be hot.
That can be hot.
Very.
Jesse doesn't know, as like we said before, he has been walking into a wall for the last 18 years, so he hasn't seen anything.
Yeah, no, I've heard sex
like a guard in Hitman who's just glitching.
Yes. I don't know how you would say this. OHN Clance says that this movie reminds them of Drive Angry, which also has Nic Cage and is about cult-based revenge, just in case anybody was curious about that.
A lot of cult revenge.
And there's a lot of words in here that I'm not going to be able to pronounce correctly. But Eon Wagoneer says that the director of this movie thinks he can rip off Argento and Jodorowsky.
Yeah.
And Zoomers will praise him, and he's right. Well, none of us are Zoomers, so...
That is true. We're actually all old fucks.
Yeah. The millennials seem to
I have not seen a lot of the Jodorowsky stuff. I've seen the old Dune, and that's kind of it, which is probably not the thing I should have watched.
Well, it's also David Lynch.
I understand what they're saying.
Yeah, I don't. But I agree. Maybe.
But yeah, totally. No, I'm going to throw my whole weight behind that one.
Yeah, all the things you said are things that I would have said if, given the chance. All right, we're doing titles. Vote in the comments, I guess, or yell things at each other if you've got a favorite. So I'm just going to start. Vicious Snowflake, because I think that's what
Yeah, he does say that.
Does the cult leader say that? Somebody says, you are a vicious snowflake. So I thought it was pretty great. Nick Rage.
That's pretty good.
Yay.
The one with the chainsaw duel. So I feel like that's the only thing anybody remembers about this movie.
This is a Friends episode?
Yeah. They need the goop.
They do need the goop.
Coke Gimp knife cock, which we're not going to use for SEO purposes. And then Brian is typing out Jetter Goblin featuring... Keep typing, Brian. Nic Cage. Great. And then Skip McDougal did LSD Nightmare. Nice. John Evans says Naked for Days. And
yeah, because we talked about that actor being naked for days.
And
he certainly was.
The Goop.
The Goop.
What do you got, Jesse?
And also, sort of in a full circle moment, there are people who accuse the Gwyneth Paltrow Goop lifestyle of being semi-cultish. So we're back to Goop.
Yeah. That's great.
And she also...
That's a full Goop circle.
Very skilled with a chainsaw, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but they have to be 10 foot. Anyway, so people can tell me what Jodorowsky movie to watch. I've only watched that documentary he made about his failed Dune project. So I've actually never really seen one of his movies. That's very embarrassing.
I'm embarrassed for you.
Oh, guys, I'm going to resign in disgrace. Usually I'm the person who's like, you all haven't seen Cleo from 5 to 7? You're not fans of the French New Wave movement? And so here I am looking like a total plebe.
Plebe. All right, plebe. Give us some titles, plebe.
I mean, Goop Cult is pretty good. And honestly, the one that we had earlier, which was like Screw Dick, Monkey, Fuck.
Could we
I don't
do?
remember what it was.
Could we do Goop Oyster Cult? Because that also did they needle drop that in this movie, or am I thinking of freaking Moon Knight where they needle dropped every song in the world? But you know,
I don't
Oh
think
my
they.
gosh. All this week I've been thinking that people have been saying on the radio and stuff that Moonlight was coming to Disney Plus, and I was like, okay. That movie's very good, but is many years old. Like, why? Like, I was listening to, like, I was in the dentist's office and, like, on iHeartRadio, they were like, you gotta catch Moonlight on Disney Plus this weekend. And I was like, okay. And I truly, like, maybe mere hours ago, was like, Moon Knight. That came out this week. So,
it did.
sorry.
Sorry, it wasn't.
I have not seen
Sorry, it
yet.
wasn't French Wave enough for you.
Moonlight was a recent movie, and it was really good. I loved Moonlight.
Oh, I was thinking
Anyway.
Wait, what is the freaking Nic Cage movie? I'm sorry.
Oh.
Yeah. Moonstruck.
Right.
That's what I thought you were talking about, because that implies a lot more.
No, Moonlight, which was the one that won Best Picture when they were like, it's not La La Land. It's
I
Moonlight.
literally had this
Remember that?
conversation with Dave where I was like, he said something about, this is the guy that films all my stuff while I was doing Moon Knight. He said something about Moonlight, and I was like, oh yeah, we should just drop that in the middle because we're doing a weekly recap of it. And just like, I just do Moonlight for like the third episode of Moon Knight. And I was like, I mean,
That'd
it
be
was
very
good,
funny.
but like, I don't really understand what this has to do with any sort of ancient Egyptian superheroes, but all right.
Yeah, and then you can do Moonstruck.
And be like, this is next level. Good job, Disney. I can't believe you made a show this wild. What do you got, Jesse? What at the what? Chainsaw duel in the forest? Exclamation point.
I think that'll do it. Yeah. Let me see. I got get him to the goop.
So
Okay.
stupid.
Knowing that the whistle that he blew to summon the bikers is actually an ocarina of crime.
But is there crime? I mean, sure.
Oh,
I mean, there's
yeah.
murder.
I think
I personally think of that as a crime. I'm gonna be brave and I'm gonna say it. I think of murder as a crime.
Thank you,
I think
Allie.
if a guy gets chainsawed in the forest and nobody hears it, did it happen?
Did it even?
You-
Did a tiger escape at all?
Certainly the bikers like broke the speed limit just to get there.
Do ATVs have speed limits?
They're not allowed on most roads.
Yeah, but these are all logging roads. It doesn't matter. Keep going.
Ooh, yeah. Okay. Don't drink of the goop.
Don't drink of the goop.
Home Alone, all growed up.
Home Alone.
Do you think he sets like little traps for them?
Yeah, I felt like that.
These traps were
now
like
I forget any example.
blades to the face. There's only like one little ambush where he like shoots the guy off the ATV. Everything else he just walks up with a battle axe or a chainsaw.
There was some element of I must protect this house, must protect this dead woman.
That would be fun though if we rebooted Home Alone, but instead of him setting fun little puzzle traps that are activated when you step on his marbles, he just comes out with a giant chainsaw and it's just like, I'm gonna fuck you up 100%. Let's do this like men here in front of each other. Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah.
I'm not a little boy anymore. I don't hide in the attic.
Um,
I'm here to fight you.
all right. Ocarina of Slime is a yes and we just got.
Very nice.
Okay.
Very nice, Slack.
And-
Okay, last couple I've got. Forged in Ire. And I showed you my cult. Please respond.
That I like.
There you go. Let's leave it at that.
Man, just the puns. It feels like you have to sit there forever just thinking of. All right.
We're really not going to get a Mandy and Red's infinite metal playlist.
Oh, it sounds like we just did.
I feel like we've left that behind. It could be that '80s show because Red Foreman is the dad and he's pretty mean, and it was set in the '80s.
Oh my gosh!
I will say, of the two names, I think Red describes this movie a lot better than Mandy.
He's like, this movie should be named after me. I'm the one who did all the fighting. Mandy just died immediately. She didn't do anything.
Yeah, well, the fighting and also just the red filter over 80% of the film.
That's true.
Yeah.
It was really cool. The ending was fantastic. The last 2 minutes, just very long shot of him driving and smiling at her, but she's not there because the camera keeps cutting out of the window and you see that he's alone. That was wild.
Yeah,
And then he's
that
like,
was.
That was so good.
just like smiling in this Nic Cage insane way.
Yeah. Hey, new title came in from Jose Barron, Manson Family Values. Love that.
Wow.
I actually like Bored Millennials.
Applause.
That's Saw. Like that's Saw, folks. That could be good.
Okay, that's all, folks.
Now that's what I call Saw.
That's what
Volume 5.
Volume 5. All right.
You know what volume we're on now? I was recently reminded and humbled that we're on like volume like 72 or something.
Wow.
Now that's what I call music.
Did they
Made me
do
feel old.
a 69?
I'm not caught
Are
up.
you aware?
Oh my God, we're at least on 82.
But did they do I feel like it's important.
Do you think they skipped 69? There's no way.
I think Kids Bop probably would skip 69.
Yeah.
We have gone. I don't know if people are aware of the kid perception of Kids Bop. You used to be able to fool kids with the Kids Bop version of songs because they were like produced kind of close enough that you just didn't really know. And this summer I was teaching at a summer camp and I had to do a lot of music choosing because we had like dance classes and listening to music while we did crafts. And I would like sit on my bus ride to work putting together playlists of like appropriate music. And the minute like a Kids Bop version would start playing, somebody would be like, "This isn't levitating. This isn't levitating. This isn't levitating. Where's Dua Lipa's levitating?" And I'd be like, I thought this was it. And they'd be like, "Well, it isn't. It doesn't sound like that." Like they know immediately.
Yeah.
Made my job a lot harder.
Kids, those Zoomers, so smart with Dua. I love Dua. Me and Dua.
Oh my God, we're on 110.
What?
We're on now. That's what I call music 110 as of November 19th, 2021.
Where are you getting? How does the number keep jumping?
This is
Well, I'm just saying
what Smash
they've
Mouth
gone in order.
meant when he said the years start coming and they don't stop coming. I feel like I'm
That is what they
trapped in
meant
that
by
cycle.
Well, in the
what
Kids
we're
Bop
talking about
version,
now that's what I call music.
the Kids Bop version is the years start arriving and they don't stop arriving because it's kids that listen to it.
This isn't it. This isn't it.
The years are coming. They're coming. Okay. So we're gonna finish on that.
You can't say finish.
We're gonna complete on that. Because we've climaxed. So Jesse, where can we find you?
You can find me screaming and drinking vodka out of the bottle in the bathroom, or on Twitter at Eisemann, Eisemann.
Allie?
You can find me on Twitter at Miss Alice Nutting, MSALICENUTTING, or trying to put together appropriate kid-friendly lists of songs so that kids don't yell at me and make my job hard.
And you can find me on the Twitters at _J_breeding. Also, they said I should say NFT. I assume that's...
Do you get paid extra money if you do or
I
something?
don't know. I'm hoping. Okay, I'll say
What
I said
are
it. Now send us
NFTs?
money. That's it. And so we're live streaming for now every Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern. So please subscribe to us here or on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. We release this as audio only. And we are a newsletter. Crack Movie Club is a newsletter where we do stuff. You can sign up for that at crack.com/movie club. Next week we're doing Titan, and we're getting Brian in front of the camera. So get excited about that.
Wow, thanks, Brian.
And
I'm sorry, I'm directing little kids
yeah.
in their show.
yeah,
That's what I'm doing next
she's
week.
gonna do the show, Lipa.
We're also going to be
Do
live
this
streaming
show.
that simultaneously.
Yeah, we'll also all be watching the show that I've been directing for 3rd to 5th graders, and you all better be nice because they have fragile egos and children.
Ow.
That's a safe place to put things on the internet, right? Like people always say nice things about when children do art. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway,
They will about
I'll
my
miss
kids.
you all. Enjoy Titan, and by enjoy I mean watch.
Yeah, vomit. All right, that's it. Goodbye, everyone. We'll see you
See ya.
next week, presumably.